guys. This is probably my first video of a series I want to do similar to this, where I just take a look at some board game related 3D printing projects. And just look at them, see how I like them. For this first one, I decided to do one of my own, just because I know it and I know what to expect. And this is more of just a test video, I guess, where I'm practicing on what the format will be. Alright, so let's get to it. This first one will be for a game called Keyflower. It's an awesome game. It's one of my favorites. It's got a good amount of pieces. I don't think setup was too long before, but I tend to just hate using baggies when I can avoid it. This was one of the first games I made a 3D printed insert for. I had actually a foam core insert before that, but I like it enough where I just made it in plastic once I got my 3D printer. So let's take a look. So you can see I've got the rule book and the rule book for the two expansions, Keyflower the Merchants and Keyflower the Farmers. I try to keep all rule books because I don't play the games enough where I have them memorized forever. I always need to check the setup. Alright, and here it is. So this contains the base game plus both expansions and all pieces. So you can toss out the expansion boxes if you want. They do take up a good amount of space. I keep them just because I'm a hoarder. So when I designed this, my intention was to have it somewhat modular, so you only put the trays out that you need for what you're playing. I'll just start describing them. So the starting tiles I made in this blue color because it contains the ships as well. So I made it blue for the ocean. Obviously the color doesn't matter. And so you can put that out to start and then drop that back in the box once you've handed out all the pieces needed for the number of players, or just leave it out. And then for each season, I made a separate box. That way, as you finish one, you can put them back in the little tray and then take out the new season. So when you're ready to wrap up at the end, almost everything is packed up at that point. So we've got spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And then these two trays are for the two expansions. So this is the Farmers, which I made pink for the piggies, because that is, I think it's a pig. The little icon for Farmers is somewhat pink. And then the Merchants are brown because that's the last color I had. Okay, so these are all the tiles in the game. Okay, and then I've still got the bag of all the little meeples that you draw during the game. I wanted there to be as little setup as possible, so when you start the game, you just throw the bag on the table, take out your tiles, this is for the base game, put out your tray. This is the bag of tools and upgrades to randomize, and then the shrouds. So that's it for the base game. You're pretty much ready to go, other than drawing the tiles that you're going to be using for that session. Alright, so let's continue to go over the rest of this. So I kept the same theme for each expansion. So brown is Merchants. So that's why I have these all in brown, and these are all in the right order. This is set up in a stack of 3, just like you expect from the rule book. So that way you just take and flip them down and you get your game going right away. It's got easy access. These have holes in the back so you can pop them out. And then this tray as well. Underneath I have the green meeples and the starting meeple. So that has its own tray. I think I had just gotten this color plastic in, that's why I used it. It's not exactly green, but it's got a greenish hue. I don't know if that's coming out in video. And then the last piece is the tray for the farmer's expansion, which has farm animals in it. And you can see that here. So essentially that's when the box is empty. I've still got these holder pieces in here. I think when I was first starting to create these inserts, I was making an outline of the actual bottom box to hold everything in. But as I've made more of them, I've realized these are pretty unnecessary. As long as the individual trays fit well, then they'll just pop in, and it'll have the same structural effect. So I don't do this anymore, but this was one of my first ones where I still did it. Alright, so that's it as far as this tray goes. Let's say you're done with your session. You've got all these pieces out on the table. Instead of having to bag all these up, figure out which bag goes to what, it's this easy. Let's bring this back. So we've got pink tray first, because it's the least used. Then green tray, brown tray, other brown tray. Actually, let's do this brown tray, even though it's harder to get in, because this is part of the base game, so it'll get used more often. And then last, blue tray. Meeples. Upgrades, just fold, and then tiles, and eventually the shrouds, and rule books. So pretty easy. It'll save a lot of time, setup and takedown. And you know, if you're trying to get a couple games in a night, that could make a big difference. Especially if you're doing more than a couple games, it starts to add up, especially with games with lots and lots of pieces. One last thing I didn't talk about. To get these shrouds to fit, I did have to modify them a little bit. Normally there's like a little slots cut out. There's like little slots cut out into the roof, and the side pieces slide through and the chimney locks it in. Those didn't fit together when you had them all like that. They don't fit together and take up as little space as it does like this. So what I had to do was just throw out the chimneys and basically make cuts in each of them. And then I just used Scotch tape on the inside on both sides, and yeah, just got them down to the size I needed to fit in this little tray, and for them to slot in together like this so they take up as little space as possible. There's a lot of pieces in here with the expansion, so that is one thing you would have to do if you use this insert. Thanks for watching. So yeah, that's the review of, or overview of, the Keyflower 3D printed insert that I made. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. Yeah, so I'd appreciate any comments or suggestions that you have. This is really my first video. It's more of a trial run to see what people think. I want to do more of these, not of just my own inserts, but of other people's inserts as well. I've printed quite a few of them. Well, not that many, but I intend to print a lot more and go over them. It's often, well, on Thingiverse, for me at least, it's hard to tell what the insert will be like until I've printed it and put it all together. Usually it's just shown in individual pieces and you don't get an idea of what it'll look like. At least for my inserts. Once I'm done printing it and putting it all together, I try to include pictures of how that looks. Especially for this Keyflower one, I even included the 3D blowout of all the pieces in the assembly that I made. So yeah, let me know what you think. For the future, I do intend to show the entire design process of how I make these inserts and what I think about when I do them. So I think the next one will be for Food Chain Magnate. And yeah, so I'll go over measuring out all the pieces, what I'm thinking about when I create the different trays, and how I think that'll come out of the box to set up on the table. And yeah, I'll film the entire process and see what people think about that. And hopefully I can turn this into a series to eventually do as many games as I can. I'm trying to focus on games that don't have some kind of tray already, although there are games whose trays are okay, but I still don't like them. Like, I think I'll probably do a Clank insert pretty soon, once I've gotten the last couple of expansions. Yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments or wherever, and see what you think about this.